So this is our last day of generosity. Well, hopefully not our last day of generosity, but the last day that we'll specifically be talking about it. You know, the paramis actually, we bring them all along with us for the ride. But today I'd like to talk about one that is, I think, probably the most challenging for many of us, and that is generosity towards the self. I want to spend a little time looking at that with you. Think about it. How good are you at giving to yourself? Being generous, really generous with yourself. Often we aren't. Often, except for in fits and starts, we're not so good. We tend toward extremes. We'll overindulge with a pint of ice cream or a few glasses of wine when we're upset about something, and then deprive ourselves going on a too restrictive diet, say, for a New Year's resolution. We're good at that. But giving to ourselves, really giving to ourselves, is a practice. It's hard. And what's hard is noticing the giving gesture and receiving, feeling the gift that we have given ourselves. Since many of us are independent, self-sufficient, and we pride ourselves in that, it's easy to miss the small and big gestures of generosity that we offer ourselves. But maybe we should revisit this and begin to tune into these gestures of giving and receiving that we do all day long. And that's what I want to point out today, is the giving that we do all day long. In the lay monastic relationship, laity offer monastics what are called requisites: food, shelter, clothing, and medicine. These are the things that all humans need to live well. When monastics receive them, these necessities, they are deeply appreciative of the gifts. Deeply appreciative, because they know they can't survive without them. So why is it that we take these offerings to ourselves for granted? We take them we have a sort of a perfunctory attitude, you could say. But what if we were to appreciate the gifts that we give ourselves? How might this truly support our experience of well-being? What if we were to appreciate, even savor, the requisites and comforts, creature comforts that we already have? The food, the shelter, the clothing, medicine. These are things that we have for ourselves that we tend to miss completely. We tend to not even notice that we have them, that we open up the medicine cabinet and there's the medicine that we need, or that we have a comfortable bed to sleep in. We tend to not notice that. That's a given. What if we were to see all of the activities of daily living: showering, bathing, grooming, dressing ourselves, going to the bathroom, preparing meals, eating, cleaning up after ourselves, tidying up our living space, paying our bills? What if we saw all of the activities that keep our bodies going and our minds going? What if we were to see them as gifts? Usually when we hear words like self-care, it's seen as a chore. Well, sure, that's one way of looking at things. But another is to see how all of the self-care moves are gestures of giving to ourselves what is needed for our survival and well-being. These caring acts are what keep these sentient bodies going, right? They will keep us alive and well. Consider how fortunate we are to wake up every day in a comfortable bed, comfortable enough, with a roof over our head, and based on the weather and what's available, wearing suitable clothing for the day. This is not a given for everyone in the world, right? And then we go to the kitchen and we make a cup of tea or coffee for ourselves, prepare a meal. And again, how wonderful that this is just available to many of us. Not all, but many. Now, maybe you live alone, and we feel that when we live alone, it's a burden to prepare a meal. But how would it be different if you were preparing a meal for a dear friend or a respected elder? Might the heart rise up in gladness knowing that your friend was coming? We'd likely mm, muse about what kind of food we'd like to offer them. And then when they come and we serve them the meal and they enjoy it, well, wouldn't our heart rise up again in joy for our friend's pleasure? Well, whether we live alone or not, what if we prepared the meal or the tea out of that heart space of generosity, as if we were preparing it for a friend and receiving it with gratitude as if a friend had prepared it for us? Maybe we use a special cup, one of our special cups or bowls, to help us remember and appreciate the moment. This is what I do. I've in recent years become a tea drinker, and I have a special cup. And so when I'm making a cup of tea, I take my special cup down and I enjoy. I'm taking a break from my day and from the busyness of my day, and I'm preparing a cup of tea. And I take that cup down, and the whole thing becomes a beautiful ritual of giving to myself. Just something very simple and small, but it brings me joy. And when I pick up that cup to drink that tea, it feels good in my hands, and I enjoy that tea even more, right? So little acts like that, little ways of highlighting and helping us to bring forward the gift that we're giving ourselves, right? It's in the spirit of generosity. How about when we take a shower? Now, many of us rush through the shower and we're done with it, right? We don't even think about it. Once on a hunch, I asked a patient who really struggled with low self-esteem. And I asked her how she bathed. I asked her how she washed herself. She said she took a shower and that she scrubbed herself really good. And she went like that. I said, what would it be like if you were to very kindly and gently wash yourself as if you were washing someone you loved, like a baby or a young child or an elder? And so she went home and she practiced that, and she came back and she said that it made a world of difference, that she truly felt the difference between how she was doing this and when she uh, inhabited the attitude of generosity and offered that to herself. So what if you were to shower in that way, or to put lotion on your body that way, as if it felt good, as if you were receiving that, drinking in the touch, feeling that touch, and appreciating what it felt like against your skin. It's small. It's something that we do again every day. But what a lovely way to begin to think about changing the routine from something that we do in that more sort of cursory or casual way, and elevating it to a spirit of generosity, to a gift that we're giving ourselves. Or when we're sick, think about when you're sick. When we're sick or we're in pain, and we follow the doctor's orders, or we take the medicine, we put on the ice packs, we elevate our foot. Do we see that? Might we see that as an act of care, as an act of generosity for the part of us that's hurting, and minister to the part of us that's hurting? And then the part that's hurting really can receive that gesture of generosity and appreciate it. These are all gestures of giving, the gifts of food, shelter, clothing, medicine, the necessities for living well, for living safely. These are not certainties, these are gifts. And when we approach our life from a place of generosity, where we see how all day long we are offering and receiving to ourselves, passing an object from one hand to the other, from one hand to the other all day long. And of course, when we meditate, when we come together like this, can we see this as a gift we're giving ourselves? Taking the time to be with ourselves and to see how we're really doing inside. Even before we sit, we invite you to check in, see how it feels in there. How does the body feel? Open the body up, give the body the attention that it needs. Just that is an act of kindness and compassion. And it is a generosity that we're offering to ourselves. I think these days, perhaps one of the main obstacles to really seeing these giving gestures to ourselves is the ease with which we can get our needs met. Amazon, online shopping, our needs and comforts are met in an instant. We don't think about it anymore. The packages come, we open them up, put them on the shelf, don't even think about it. But imagine if these were material goods that a dear friend had given you. I suspect you'd be thrilled if a friend presented you with a set of new bed sheets or towels or a warm hat. You'd be excited, thrilled. Well, so what if we were to practice saying thank you to ourselves for the small and big treasures that come in those boxes, so that we don't take them for granted, because they're not a given. They're not a given. Why not bring forward into awareness all that we do to have the safety and the comforts so that we create for ourselves and appreciate them. Receive them as gifts, not shoulds, not expectations. Why not elevate all of the self-care routines that we do throughout the day that support our well-being? See them as gestures of giving and learn to say thank you to ourselves, just as we'd say thank you to another. So that's what I'd like to leave you with today. Receiving the gifts you give yourself and saying thank you for those gifts.